Have you ever wondered why certain investigations capture the SEC's attention, while others seemingly fall by the wayside? Consider the peculiar case of MMTLP, a prime example of a situation that demands scrutiny, yet appears to have slipped through the regulatory net. The peculiarities of the MMTLP case are quite striking. There's an undercurrent of negligence, or perhaps even complicity, within FINRA, the body responsible for reviewing and processing MMTLP's corporate actions. This negligence culminated in the U3 halt in early December 2022. The SEC's oversight or lack thereof casts a shadow on its efficacy and credibility. Now, add to this mix GTS Securities, a major player responsible for a staggering 32% of the New York Stock Exchange's market share. The implications are immense if GTS Securities were found to be embroiled in yet another market manipulation scandal. Remember, back in April of 2023, a multi-year investigation culminated in fines exceeding $10 million when GTS conceded to an acceptance waiver and consent. This agreement detailed an array of market manipulation on the NYSE over 6 long years, a duration that almost mirrors GTS's tenure on the NYSE. GTS's track record, littered with disclosures and at least 2 ongoing spoofing lawsuits, paints a telling picture. Ari Rubenstein, the CEO of GTS Securities, has been a FINRA collaborator since as early as 2017. During this collaboration, GTS's technology has been instrumental in helping FINRA identify market manipulation by other high-frequency trading firms. Quite the convenient arrangement, wouldn't you agree? Fast forward to 2021, and GTS seems to be entangled with the earliest MMTLP trades. A year later, GTS's involvement in the final MMTLP trades, including pre-market trading on December 8, 2022, that resulted in a 15% drop, which appears to be a clear violation of FINRA Rule 11893. What's intriguing is Ari Rubenstein's conspicuous absence from the public eye since just over a week before the U3 halt. Despite his apparent disappearance, the connections to Rubenstein from those opposing the narratives of NextBridge Hydrocarbons and the MMTLP community are hard to ignore. Could 1, 2, or even 3 of these links be mere coincidences? When you step back and survey the landscape, it seems more like a concerted effort to deflect attention away from Ari Rubenstein and GTS Securities. The MMTLP community hopes these red flags will not be ignored like they were in the early stages of the Madoff scandal. The time has come for the appropriate investigative agency to rise to the occasion, to take notice, and to ensure these obvious connections are investigated thoroughly. We urge them to take action for the sake of transparency, for the sake of justice, and for the sake of the integrity of our financial markets. Sadly, after 15 months, it appears that the SEC isn't motivated to find a solution. The SEC is taking their time in making the S1 from NextBridge Hydrocarbons effective, and they also don't appear to be in any hurry to close their metamaterials investigation. Ari Rubenstein hasn't been seen publicly on social media or appeared in a photograph or video since shortly before the U3 halt of MMTLP. He's very much entitled to his privacy, but it's awfully strange that he's gone from being a very public figure to a literal recluse. What adds to the mystery is that almost everyone that has come forward to deflect attention away from Ari Rubenstein and GTS Securities can be linked to Ari Rubenstein and his companies. Many of these connections aren't obvious, which of course only adds to the theory that if this was a coordinated effort, they knew they couldn't just use the people closest to Rubenstein. We'll begin with Modern Markets Initiative, which is a high-frequency trading lobbyist group co-founded by Ari Rubenstein. Kirsten Wegner is the CEO of Modern Markets Initiative. Here she is pictured with Ari Rubenstein in full modern market mode. Kirsten Wegner hasn't publicly made any comments concerning MMTLP, but James Angel has been a Modern Markets Initiative advisory board member since at least September of 2019. Rubenstein has cited Angel's work on multiple occasions, and Angel has seemingly parroted Rubenstein's position when GTS got into trouble for trading the Overstock dividend on the OTC. It should also be noted that FINRA, against the wishes of Overstock, gave GTS permission to continue doing so. James Angel has been perhaps the earliest and most vocal NextBridge Hydrocarbons detractors, while also claiming to be a TRCH/MMTLP shareholder. James Angel has a history of briefing Congress, and when the MMTLP community began to visit Washington, D.C., they were made aware that Angel was also there to counter their arguments. James Angel claimed that he offered his perspective according to his own volition, but his PowerPoint presentation gave the impression that he was there on behalf of Georgetown University, where Angel is a part of a program with links to FINRA. Angel's slideshow included an About Me slide, but for some reason he left out his involvement with Modern Markets Initiative. You'll also notice that James Angel's profile can no longer be found on the Modern Markets Initiative website. Kirsten Wegner has a Modern Markets Initiative virtual series on YouTube titled MMI Brown Bag Lunch. When Angel was a guest in April of 2020, the background he chose to use proudly displayed his affection for the New York Stock Exchange and GTS securities. Michael Pivawar of the Milken Institute and former acting chair of the SEC also appeared on the MMI Brown Bag virtual series with Kirsten Wegner. We're not aware of any comments made by Michael Pivawar concerning MMTLP, but Pivawar has also been a senior advisor for Ari Rubenstein's GTS securities since March of 2019. Ari Rubenstein appears to be closely involved with the Milken Institute. The May 2022 conference was one of the last public appearances made by Rubenstein. It was also discovered by a community member that Charles Gasparino and Ari Rubenstein were mentioned together at the 2022 conference. Gasparino, of course, brushed it off, but isn't it strange that Gasparino has become the latest voice to use his own brand of defamation toward the MMTLP community? Gasparino sticks to his MO of pestering the investing public, even when civil attempts are made to educate him on what he has wrong. And here's Kirsten Wegner of MMI and Charles Gasparino together on a panel at the Milken Conference just a year prior. This shows us that Gasparino to some degree likes attending Milken conferences. He's met Ari Rubenstein at least once at the 2022 conference. He's been on the same panel with Kirsten Wegner at the 2021 conference. And GTS Securities senior advisor Michael Pivawar has been with the Milken Institute for approximately 5 years and 7 months, just 6 months longer than he's been with GTS. Doug Sifu of Virtue Financial has had communication with the MMTLP community on the X platform, and he's commented on Rubenstein being wise not to get involved with the social media conversation. Doug Sifu is connected to Ari Rubenstein because Virtue has been a strategic investor in Rubenstein's clearlist since September 2021. There's also a variety of evidence that suggests that Sifu's own Virtue Financial and/or Knight Capital has some exposure to trades in MMTLP. D-list Forbes contributor Brandon Koch-Coden has written negative MMTLP articles and engaged with the community on social media. But his proudest achievement appears to be a comic strip that pokes fun of the Next Bridge assets and counterfeit shares. The MMTLP community discovered from a LinkedIn post that the comic strip took 6 months to create. Isn't that an inordinate amount of time to spend on a project related to a security that doesn't trade? For a while, the Forbes connection to Rubenstein wasn't obvious, but we later discovered that Joe Cunahan, an advisor at Rubenstein's clearlist, has also been a senior contributor at Forbes for approximately 12 years. In addition to that, Kirsten Wegner was named a member of the Forbes Nonprofit Council in 2023. Wall Street Journal contributor Alexander Osipovich, like Koch-Coden, has written negative articles about MMTLP, but Osipovich took it a step further by betraying the trust of the MMTLP community members that he interviewed for one of his articles. Osipovich is connected to Rubenstein because his articles have appeared on the GTS Securities website, and Rubenstein has cited Osipovich in comment letters. Osipovich has also written positively about fellow MMI member Adam Nunes of HRT, whom also was a member of FINRA's Market Surveillance Advisory Group alongside Ari Rubenstein. Very recently, Osipovich has written about and appeared in news segments promoting the SEC approval of JKBX, pronounced jukebox, a way for investors to invest in music rights made possible by the trading technology provided by GTS Securities. Small world, James Angel coincidentally reposts and comments on the work of Alexander Osipovich and Brandon Koch-Coden on his LinkedIn account. Small world indeed. The goal was to keep the video in the 10-minute range. For a more thorough look into these connections and more, please take the time to watch How and Why FINRA Manipulated the MMTLP Corporate Actions Part 3, which will be linked below.